Welcome back to Good Evening KU. I'm Gabby.
And I'm Jenna.
Jenna, have you been keeping tabs on the election this weekend?
I was actually, and I even went home last week to go vote in Texas because I kind of procrastinated on that, of course. But it was very interesting to see so many people come out for this election particularly. You know, it was a really big deal. And I kind of did some reporting and got some footage out there. But what did you think about it?
Yeah, I'm also from Texas, so I actually had to mail in my ballot. And I didn't receive my mail-in ballot till actually very late. But luckily, I was able to mail it in on time.
Right. The mail-in ballot thing was pretty, scary because a lot of people were saying they're not going to count them all in time. So I know a lot of people were a little nervous about that.
Yeah, I definitely saw that, especially in states like Pennsylvania and Nevada. I saw a lot of memes about Nevada being really slow on counting their votes, especially comparing the voter counters in Nevada to the sloth from Zootopia.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Did you see the parade on Mass Street?
I did, and I thought that was pretty interesting. You know, if I was here, I really wish I would have participated in that.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
I saw a couple people's Snapchat stories, and I would have loved to win, but it was already too late for me to go.
Yeah, for sure.
Having a little hint into our next segment, Jenna, what kind of music do you listen to?
You know, it really, for me, just kind of depends on my mood and the weather. So right now, with it being a little cold outside, I like a lot of R&B and soul, sometimes pop radio. It just really depends for me.
Yeah,
what about you?
For me, I listen to a lot of 70s rock. I'm not really sure why. My music taste kind of changes every single year, but right now I've just really been vibing with that.
Absolutely, and you know, with Christmas coming around, you've got to get those Christmas bops in, so I'm really excited for all that.
Yeah, I love Lawrence's Christmas radios. I think they're the absolute best out of the ones I've seen.
Definitely. After the break, Makai Crawford will interview KU senior Mark Fabelto Hernandez. Hernandez is a Kansas native with a passion for making music. His music can be found on Spotify and Apple Music. We'll hear from Makai and Mark shortly, but for now, stay tuned.
Where you go to college makes a statement about you. This place will become a part of you, your identity for life. The University of Kansas, a great place to be you.
So good afternoon, y'all. So today we have a very special guest with us today. It's a close friend of mine and an amazing artist. His name's MVRKVFILI, straight out of Leavenworth, Kansas. MVRKVFILI, how you feeling today?
I'm feeling good. It's a little bit cold out for my liking, but that's how Kansas goes.
You know how it goes. So you just had an EP that dropped not too long ago.
Yes, sir.
Tell us about how you came about making this project.
So it wasn't that I created all the music at one time. The oldest song on there is probably 2 years old, but when artists come to creating a project, they want to stick to a specific genre or a specific theme. And when I created this EP, I gathered the songs that I thought fit the genre, and I put it all into one little take, and it basically just explained my emotions that I'm going through at the time. And I really think that it's getting colder now, so a lot of people are experiencing the same type of emotions. So
Okay, so you have this darker, R&B type feel similar to artists like Black Bear, Ty Dolla $ign. With that being said, what are some of the inspirations that you use to help shape the sound that you come about?
So a lot of earlier G-Eazy, not so much now, but a lot of earlier G-Eazy, Black Bear for sure. He used to write a lot of pop songs before he became the Black Bear that we know today. But when it comes to the specific genre that I make music for, I really tend to write about the stuff that I know and, like the stuff that I go through. And I feel like a lot of college kids can relate to what I'm going through, especially in sometimes depressing and anxiety times when we're trying to really figure out our lives right now. So yeah, that's how I'll explain it.
Okay, cool, man. And something that a lot of your fans probably don't know is that you don't only just write music, but you record yourself, you make your own beats. So, when did this start? When did you find out that you had this talent and this ability?
So it originally started as a coping mechanism because I had anxiety and depression growing up. So it was kind of an outlet because I didn't really feel open to, talking to people. So I figured if I made songs and wrote then like people wouldn't have to like ask me questions. Like they would just be like, oh, it's an art, you know? So it was really something that helped me relieve stress and stuff like that. And, you know, over time, I felt more comfortable putting my music out there. Because let's be real, like the first couple songs I had out, they were not very good. So, you know, but yeah, I think it's just a learning experience since day one, about freshman year, high school.
Awesome, man. That's great. So, what are the next moves for MVRKVFILI? What can we expect to see from him?
I think you could definitely say that I'm gonna put out a couple singles that are gonna be along the lines of my last EP. But once summertime comes around and coronavirus slows down, everybody's trying to get back in the groove of things, I'm gonna put out some music that everybody's gonna want to party or like, you know, have some uplifted spirits to. So stay tuned.
Most definitely. I know you got a birthday coming up, so can we expect any birthday releases or
that might be classified.
surprises from MVRKVFILI?
That might be classified. You might just have to wait. You know, you might have to just check out the Instagram page, keep up with Apple Music and Spotify, and just see what happens, because you never know.
Okay. Well, Mark, it was awesome having you here.
Yeah,
Been waiting to interview you for a long time. This project is called Low Key Hours. Tell them where you can find that.
Apple Music, Spotify. Untraditional name is spelled MVRKVFILI.
MVRKVFILI, there you have it.
MVRKVFILI.
I'm Kai Crawford. It's Good Evening KU. That's it.
Where you go to college makes a statement about you. This place will become a part of you, your identity for life. The University of Kansas, a great place to be you.
I'm Reese, and I'm joined by my partner Ciro here, and we're bringing you the NBA mock draft because it's coming up quick. So first of all, I am a strong believer in James Wiseman. I think that the Hornets want James Wiseman. They have not had a dominant center like James Wiseman since they became the Charlotte Hornets. I mean, unless you want to count Al Jefferson. That's nothing special, but unless you want to count that. But no, what I have is I have the Hornets coming up to number 1, trading with the Minnesota Timberwolves, giving up Miles Bridges, the number 3 pick, and a first rounder next year to select James Wiseman from Memphis. Now, James Wiseman is more of an old school center. He's not exactly going to score from beyond the three-point line or anything, but he's going to get you buckets, he's going to get you rebounds, and he's almost more of a newer Andre Drummond, a better Andre Drummond.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Maybe also poor man's Bam he could eventually develop into with the correct system. But I think with that happening, it'll lead to another team wanting to leapfrog the Charlotte Hornets. Not the Charlotte Hornets, my apology, but the Minnesota Timberwolves now that they trade down to 3, and that would be the New York Knicks, because they see this time that they can go in front of the Minnesota Timberwolves and get the guy who they want, who is LaMelo Ball. Due to the fact that LaMelo Ball probably wants to play in a large market. He doesn't want to play in a small market like Charlotte. And the Golden State Warriors don't want a cat with that attitude or like that personality. They want someone to buy into their system. With that being said, I see the Golden State Warriors going back to 8 because they wanted Wiseman, and now they think they can get a different center down at 8, probably Onyeka Okongwu coming out of USC. New York gets the point guard of the future while sending away Frank Ntilikina and Kevin Knox.
And it certainly helps. LaMelo Ball is a brand in himself. Like, that's what New York needs.
Exactly.
New York needs something to turn the page and bring basketball back to the mecca of sports at Madison Square Garden. But all right, on to pick 4, with pick 3 being the Timberwolves selecting Anthony Edwards, kind of expected out of the big top 3 prospects. But on to pick 4, the Chicago Bulls taking Deni Avdija out of Israel. Now, Avdija, you could probably say he has the highest ceiling out of any of the players in this draft, coming from where you see it. He's gotten Luka Doncic comparisons, but that's just not fair because there's really not going to be another Luka anytime soon. But no, Avdija, he's a great scorer. He was 18 years old playing in the highest league in Israel, putting up these stats, which is impressive for an 18-year-old nonetheless. But no, the Bulls, with the starting lineup going into the future of Kobe White, perhaps Zach LaVine, and then Lauri Markkanen and Wendell Carter Jr. at the 4 and 5. Avdija slots in perfectly there at the 3 and gives him a great 5-man core to build around going into the future.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. He fits the scheme perfectly next to their other scorers and can just be a seamless fit from day one. With that being said, we think the Cavs will take Obi Toppin to replace Kevin Love, and at 6, Trae Young is the man. But what happens when Trae Young goes to the bench? The Atlanta Hawks will take Tyrese Halliburton coming out of Iowa State, a man who seems like has a similar athleticism to post-injury Sean Livingston, but doesn't play like that. Likes to shoot the jumper, but likes to facilitate the offense, and it'll be a great choice for them when Trae Young comes off the floor.
Certainly, certainly. I mean, they just need playmaking. Playmaking is so important in the NBA. When Trae Young comes off the court, they've been going to Brandon Goodwin. That just doesn't cut it in the NBA. You have to get somebody to help when Trae Young comes off the court, and he could also fit seamlessly at the 2 when Trae Young's off the court. Halliburton's a fantastic player off the ball. But pick 7, the Detroit Pistons taking Killian Hayes out of France. Killian Hayes is I'm a big fan of the foreign players in this draft. I think Killian Hayes will end up being the second best player out of this class behind Danny Avdija. But I see with the Pistons, they need talent. They need an influx of talent. Derrick Rose, there's a good chance he's going to get shipped off this offseason. If he's a Piston next season, that'll be a shock. But bringing in Killian Hayes, he's the talent of the future, a new wave in Detroit, because this era has not treated them well at all, and they're just going to move on. A lot also has to do with what they do with Christian Wood. If they don't bring back Christian Wood, then Onyeka Okongwu could potentially be an option here. But more than likely Killian Hayes, because he's the most talented player on the board at this time. Yeah,
especially with Derrick Rose being older, and you want to be the team they have now is never going to be a championship contending team. So that looks the best for the future. But if we're going to the San Antonio Spurs, Patrick Williams, the athletic forward freak out of SFU, he fits the defensive system that the Spurs love. A guy who will come in and be a defensive player from day one, and from then he'll be able to go and maybe become a player similar to the development of Kawhi Leonard. I'm not going to say he's like Kawhi Leonard, but you saw how Kawhi, after 3 years, became a 20-point scorer. You could see him being 8, then 10, then maybe even up to 17. I don't think he'll ever be a 20-point scorer, but he could be a guy who could be one of the best defenders, like a Paul George-esque body type, and then he could be giving you points as a secondary scorer.
No, I mean, I'm sure Minnesota at pick 17, they are praying that Patrick Williams falls to him, but he'd fit seamlessly alongside Karl Anthony Towns, but I just like see him making it there. But no, the next pick, the Sacramento Kings taking Aaron Nesmith out of Vanderbilt. More than likely, Buddy Hield isn't going to start next year with the Sacramento Kings. He's expressed that he wants to get out of here. If I had to say anywhere, I would imagine he'll be a 76er next year, maybe even a Laker if the Lakers can get enough assets. But no, Aaron Nesmith fits perfectly alongside De'Aaron Fox. He's the best shooter in the class. He did not play much last year at Vanderbilt because of injuries, but when he did, he lit it up from 3. He shot over 50% from 3, actually, which was a surprising number to say the least in college basketball. And he had a great number of attempts before the injury. But no, he fits seamlessly alongside De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox is a great defender, and that makes up for some of the defensive deficiencies of Aaron Nesmith. But I just love that pick. I think he'll fit in perfectly.
Yeah, I think Aaron Nesmith, especially the fact that he's 6'6" with almost a 6'9" or 6'10" wingspan, which means he has the physical profile to be a good defender. That being said, he also has the potential, he showed up at the Combine. He was one of the best shooters this past week at the Combine. But going over to the Nets, Josh Green, coming out of Arizona, was one of the more hyped prospects at one point when he was coming out of high school. But now he has one of the highest floors, meaning that he's pro-ready. I think he could be a player comparable to Courtney Lee, a guy who will give you about 10 points, all mainly three-pointers, and maybe an extra shot at the free throw line, but the rest he'll be just giving you on defense, just harassing the team's best player on offense and just giving you great defense at all times.
Certainly. No, he could have benefited from a little extra time last year if the season hadn't gotten cut short last year for Arizona, but that would help. But no, on to Denver at 22. Jaden McDaniels out of Washington. If you turn back the clock just to 2 short years ago, Jaden McDaniels was one of the top players in the class who went to Washington, which, a little side note, Washington brings in these 5-star recruits every year, but they can't win anything. Win something, Washington. No, on to the Denver pick, though. Jaden McDaniels, when he went to Washington, he was more of a long, small forward. He more so converted to the power forward role at Washington, which is where he'll probably stay in the NBA. But alongside Michael Porter Jr. and Nikola Jokic, provides great defense at the 4, and he's a fantastic rim runner. He'll make an open 3, and that's just what Denver needs. And seamless fit there for Denver.
Yeah, I completely agree. And if Bol doesn't work out, Jaden McDaniels is a guy who could be the similar player to what we expect Bol ending up. But now at 23, Jalen Smith going to the Jazz. Stick Smith, if you don't know him, coming out of UMD. He has the potential to be this stretch 4 or even a stretch 5 who gives you 3 points three-point shooting on offense, but then being a rim protector on the defensive side. And I think he's what you're going to start seeing a lot of modern bigs to look like, his style of play, where they're more shooters and pretty much like a 3-and-D guard, they're 3-and-D big men. They give you three-pointers on offense, but rim protection and post defense on the other side.
Certainly, yeah. That three-point shot's developing rapidly. He's becoming great. But no, just to kind of round it out, Grant Riller going to the Knicks at 27, and that's just one of the more notable picks. But this is all we have for you today from the mock draft, and we're going to shoot it to Annika and Andrew after the break.
Diversity. What is diversity? It can be an umbrella term for a variety of things, ranging from diversity among different people, places, cultures, and ideas to the way people express themselves and the way they interact with the world. In today's world, people interact with one another and share their thoughts through social media. Let's take Twitter, for example. How are people of different backgrounds, ethnicities, and sexual orientations with different political beliefs, interests, and job titles using this platform differently? Currently, celebrities are interacting with their fans on Twitter by speaking their minds, sharing their beliefs, and supporting social issues. Professional sports figures and organizations in the United States are using Twitter to support social causes and bring attention to current social matters, such as encouraging their fans to vote. Users are voicing their opinions about current issues surrounding racial inequalities, social injustice, and police brutality in the United States. There's diversity in the way people are discussing the upcoming presidential election, especially regarding their opinions of each candidate. Different news outlets are not only highlighting stories in the US, but are talking about important stories from around the world. But many Twitter users don't post about controversial matters or social issues at all. Rather, they use their platform to create memes and post funny content for entertainment. While many topics going around this app involve social issues and political opinions, Twitter creates a space where people can pull together collections of diverse thoughts, comments, opinions, goals, and even a little humor too. So how can we use this platform to express our differences? More importantly, how can we use it to learn from each other's differences today?
Welcome back to your weekly news update from Good Evening KU. My name is Annika.
And I'm Andrew. In terms of national news, CNBC says the Supreme Court is likely to keep the Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare, in place despite being challenged by the court 3 times. There's talk that a few provisions of the law will be removed, but the core of it will stay in place. The Trump administration attempted to repeal the act multiple times over the past 4 years.
It is safe to say that President-elect Joe Biden will fight to keep the act providing affordable health care to millions of Americans in place. It will be interesting to see how a conservative majority Supreme Court implements regulations of the Affordable Care Act, though they have made it clear that it is not their mission to destroy it.
Speaking of health, President-elect Joe Biden came forward with a plan for addressing the COVID-19 pandemic, according to CNN. He recently put together a team called the Coronavirus Advisory Board, which is a group of experts that will head the efforts to reduce cases in the United States. They will start with increased testing and definitive contact tracing to figure out where cases are coming from and how to best slow them.
The Biden administration also plans to increase investments for vaccines and treatments, as well as working with local governments to increase mandatory mask orders in public spaces nationwide. On top of that, the president-elect is pushing for greater communication with the CDC and the World Health Organization. Joe Biden hopes to address and change the problems with the disparities of public health.
In coronavirus news, drug maker Pfizer released data on Monday showing their COVID-19 vaccine is currently trending much better than expected. According to CNN, the vaccine reached an efficacy rate of over 90% in just 7 days after the second dose.
The U.S. Food and Drug Administration previously stated it would expect at least 50% efficiency from any coronavirus vaccine. The vaccine is still currently under phase 3 trials and has yet to show any safety concerns. But Pfizer has also stated that they are unsure how long the protection from the vaccine will last.
In other news, CNN has also reported that Emily Harrington made history this week, becoming the first woman to ever free climb the 3,000-foot granite face of El Capitan in Yosemite National Park using the Golden Gate route. She's the 4th woman to ever scale this massive rock with no help from modern climbing technology, but the first one to ever do it in under 24 hours on the notorious Golden Gate route.
In an Instagram post on November 7th, she talked about some of the struggles she faced, including a nasty forehead injury and the mental challenges of having to find the strength to work through the place where she has failed in the past. She remains grateful for the challenge and for her friends and family who supported her all throughout it.
Well, it is really getting to be the most wonderful time of the year here in Kansas. KU basketball season begins its season on Thanksgiving against Gonzaga in Fort Myers, Florida. The Jayhawks released their 2020-2021 schedule a few weeks ago, but just finalized the schedule last night. They added a home game against Washburn on December 3rd, sending their schedule to an NCAA maximum 27 games.
Kansas is entering the season ranked 6th in the country. The Big 12 is stacked with nationally ranked teams such as Baylor, Texas Tech, West Virginia, and Texas, according to 24/7 Sports. Though the Jayhawks are slated to have a really good season, they will have a tough conference competition yet again.
Tough competition or not, I'm just excited to watch some KU basketball. Hopefully tickets will be given to some students so we can attend some games.
KU soccer played to a 1-1 draw with Iowa State this week at Rock Chalk Park and now sits at 4-3-1 for the season. Senior Carrie Holland's third goal of the season gave the Jayhawks the lead in the first half with a little razzle-dazzle and a chip shot. The Kansas defense hung on to the lead until the final minute of the match before letting Cyclone forward Courtney Powell loose on a breakaway for the game-tying goal. Both overtime periods went scoreless despite pressure from the KU forwards. KU will close the season on November 15th at Rock Chalk Park with the rescheduled match against Oklahoma.
And that's all we have for you for today. Stay with us after the break for a weather update from Adrian. It sure is a lot colder than it was yesterday. Keep watching.
Welcome to Take a Side, the sports talk show that lets you, the viewer, choose our winners. Who is the biggest threat to win the NFC West?
I think hands down the Arizona Cardinals are the biggest threat in the NFC West right now.
That the Bucs will be better off in a few years with a young quarterback with all the weapons that they have now.
Who is going to be the lead man for the Jayhawks this season?
I'm going to go with Ochai Agbaji.
Should students who are caught hosting large gatherings be expelled from the university?
I think expulsion is absolutely 100% ridiculous.
And that's why I think Joe Biden will closely win this presidential election.
For more Take a Side content, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at TakeASideKU. And for all of us here at Take a Side, I'm Jacob Polachek. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening and welcome back to Good Evening KU. I'm Adrian Campa here with your weather forecast. And right now it's pretty cold in Lawrence. We have a temperature of 39 degrees with those mostly cloudy skies, and it's pretty windy. Winds are gusting right now from the west-northwest at 17 miles per hour. And when you factor in that wind, it feels a lot colder out there. So our wind chill is currently 30 degrees. And our 24-hour temperature change from what we saw yesterday, it's much colder across the state of Kansas and really the entire upper Midwest because of that powerful cold front that came through late last night, early this morning. So we're sitting about 30 degrees colder than what we were sitting at this time yesterday. We were in the 70s and now we're in the upper 30s. So big temperature difference out there right now. And it's not just us, it's for pretty much all of the Midwest right now. We're seeing you can really see the cold front on the current temperature map. It's extending right here down into Oklahoma all the way up, and there's actually severe weather ahead of the front. So like Illinois and Wisconsin, there's actually a tornado watch in effect. And then over here in Minnesota, where the temperatures are in the 20s and 30s, there's a winter storm warning. So pretty fascinating seeing those two different dynamic storm systems within a few hundred miles of each other, producing different types of weather. And on satellite, this is where the low pressure is spinning. It spins counterclockwise, so we're seeing the back building of some of that cloud cover, but eventually it's going to start clearing up over the next several hours. But you can really see the cold front on satellite extending all the way to the border of Mexico, and this is where the active weather is ahead of the front. And with the low pressure system, this is where we are seeing snow. But thankfully, we're not seeing anything like that here in Kansas. And our evening planner over the next several hours, we're going to get even colder. We're going to fall to a freezing mark around 9 p.m., but our winds are thankfully going to start backing off to around 5 miles per hour, remaining from the north. So it's still going to be pretty cold as we do usher in that colder air. So for tonight, we're going to have a low temperature of 28 degrees, clear skies and pretty cold. The winds are going to be from the west-northwest up 5 to 10 miles per hour. And for tomorrow, it's going to be warmer and sunny, a high of 57 degrees with light winds. Winds will only be from the northwest at 0 to 5 miles per hour. So thankfully, winds are not a big concern tomorrow. And for our extended forecast, we're going to start warming up to a high near 60 on Thursday, cooling off a tad bit on Friday ahead of our next weather maker. Sunny for most of the day, but as we get into Friday night, a storm system will approach, and then we will see rain showers and maybe even a couple of rumbles of thunder. As we get into Saturday, Leftover rain showers for the morning, still warming up to around 67 degrees. And as we get to Sunday, cooling off a tad bit to a high of only 60, but we do begin to see the return of sunshine and staying in the 50s on Monday, but then warming back up into the 60s on Tuesday. Well, that's all I have for you today, but next week, make sure to tune in because it is our last Good Evening KU show of the semester.